Hello, good morning. I had a bit of a technical issue. I don't know why I was having trouble going live about 10 minutes ago. But anyway, here I am. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. I have a cup of coffee and some yarn and some knitting. And I am here just to chat. So if anybody's around, you can leave a message in the chat box and say hello. Maybe tell me where you're from. I'd love to see that type of thing. Say good morning, afternoon. What'd you have for breakfast? What are you knitting? Any of those. Give me a hello in the message box and we'll get this started. So I thought today we would talk about merino yarn. As you know, maybe, my name is Heather, and I own this yarn brand called UU Yarns. And I started this company about 11 and a half years ago now. And the way I started it was with one yarn. So I made a yarn called woolly worsted, and this one yarn is made from merino wool. So I went to a yarn mill and I said, hey, I kind of want to start a yarn brand, and can we get some samples? So I looked at different fibers. You know, there's a lot of different fibers. There's cotton, there's alpaca, there's different types of sheep, which merino is a type of sheep. There's cashmere, there's, oh goodness, bamboo. The fibers go on, don't they? So, anyway, I thought that merino wool is my favorite because it has a lot of variable uh, qualities, a lot of things you can do with it once you've knitted it. So, not only is it a long, sturdy fiber, so it's great for all types of projects, but you can twist it up in a bunch of different ways to make the yarn you want to make. It takes color really well. So there's a lot of highlights to using merino yarn. And like I said, I started with just one yarn, a worsted weight merino wool, and I chose 7 colors. And we had, that's where I started. I found some yarn stores to luckily take my to buy my yarn. Yarn stores buy my yarn by the bag like this. These bags back here over my shoulder are sets of 10. So if a yarn store carries my yarn, they buy 10 balls so that when you come in and buy yarn, you can see, oh, there's enough. I can buy 2 of this color and 3 of that color and 7 of that color, and I can make a sweater from that, or whatever the case, whatever you're knitting. So over the years, I decided to add more weights of yarn, but I stuck with merino yarn. So now I have 4 thicknesses of yarn. Oop, the fingering, the sport, that worsted, and then my bigger bulky yarn. And I chose to stick with merino yarn because I just love it. So as I mentioned, merino is a breed of sheep. So just like dogs, you could have a German Shepherd and a Basset Hound and a Chihuahua, but they're all dogs. And that's just the same for sheep. So merino sheep have a really long coat, and the fibers that the merino sheep grows are very long and very thin. And so that does 2 different things, having those long fibers. That means there's less ends to poke you when you're wearing a finished garment, so it makes it less itchy. And the fibers are so naturally thin, your skin doesn't react the same way. So there's just less things that could irritate you if you're making a project in merino yarn. So that's why it's great for um, people with sensitive skin. My mother was allergic to all sorts of things, and she had no problem knitting with my yarn, which I always she loved, and so did I. Um, and so anyway, it makes it great for baby items and sensitive skin. And plus, my yarn is also treated with what's called superwash. So it is actually a thin coating. So they take the fibers and they coat them with a thin silicone coating. And that helps seal in those ends so that the yarn can be washable and, sort of agitated, and it's not going to felt up like, we've all shrunken sweaters and all sorts of things. But so because it has this superwash treatment on it, it makes it all really easy care. And then that also seals in those ends that are prone to irritating, like, in a rich, raw, like Icelandic wool or something like that, that comes from like those hardier northern sheep. We've all felt those projects, which they're great for the climate you need to be in. But the nice thing about merino yarn is that it's more breathable, and it actually keeps you warm when you're wet, which is kind of a really unique phenomenon to merino wool. So a lot of like high-end outerwear gear is actually made from merino, and they'll do like the base layer, the body insulating layers, all made from merino wool, because it keeps you warm when it's wet, and it dries naturally, and it sort of stays, and it's non-irritating. And now, how does that translate into your knitting? Well, like I said, it is great for baby items. It's great for washability, but it's also great for, because it has those long fibers, it's great for blocking out, because it really can kind of stretch and give. Like, if you'd like to have a shawl that has a really pretty drape to it. So this is a sport weight shawl, and you can see it just kind of wraps and hugs you, and it gives it a nice drape, and it's part of that longer fiber and the way we have this yarn spun for us, that it gives it that sort of like almost silky and smooth effect, so that you can either, knit it snug to gauge, or you can knit it looser and let it drape. So there's a lot of fun ways that you can use merino, and especially my UU merino, because if you didn't know, I even designed this yarn down to the number of twists per inch. So this yarn has 3 plies. You can see if you sort of untwist the yarn, you can count them. So that means they spin a thin strand, then they spin another one, and then they spin another one, and then they spin all those into my yarn. And now all 4 weights of my yarn are exactly the same construction. So they're all 21.5 micron merino, which is a very nice thin, quality of merino. So like I said, those long, thin fibers. So it's called a super fine merino. And then they take all those fibers and they line them up on carding machines, and then they spin them into the first ply, second ply, and the third ply, and then they spin them all into yarn. And then the only difference is between these 4 yarns that I sell is that the plies on the fingering weight are the thinnest, and the plies on the bulky weight are the thickest. But otherwise, all of the yarns here at UU Yarns are merino wool, essentially the same. I even make them in the same colors so that if you were to make a baby item and you wanted to like make a baby blanket and you wanted to make a hat to coordinate, then you can. And you don't have to use the same weights. You can do whatever you want. There's tons of different options. But anyway, I hope that's a nice little introduction. If you have any questions about merino, you can drop one in the comment box, or you can leave one. I'll save this recording and you can leave me a question there, and maybe I'll be able to answer it next week. We can keep the conversation going. So yeah, anybody here catching me live? Leave a comment. Tell me where you're from. Say good morning. Anyway, this is the Yuso Summer Shawl, if you've never seen this one. It is a personal favorite. It's 6 colors, and I just love it. It has this little picot edge, and I love how the colors all sit together. One of my favorites to wear, especially if I have an event to do or something. I don't know, just keep getting my collar all in there. Anyway, happy Wednesday. I have made some good progress on my fingering weight blustery beanie. I think I'm about ready to start the crown decreases. So as I mentioned last week, this is the bulky weight version, and I have been trying to put together more multi-gauge patterns so that like I said, I have all the same colors and all the same weights. So it's more of a preference. Like if you like to knit with bulky weight, I have an option for you. Or if you like to knit with thinner yarns, then we'll also have an option. So I have knit the biggest size, which this pattern is available. Oh, I'm hearing there's lots of chatter and I can't see any of the messages. How do I see them? Thanks for helping, guys. I don't know how to see the messages. Okay. Oh, here it is. Okay, let's see. Oh, hi, Jean. So you returned from Portland? That's so nice. Still knitting my knit-along sweater. That's perfect. Yes, I am knitting that Marie Green knit-along sweater too, but it got so warm. I did not want to have it on my lap, but I just have a sleeve and a half. And so hopefully I can get that done. Hi, Janet, 11Zs. Oh, good. I love that shawl. I can't wait to see it. You'll have to share a photo. Hi, Sonia. Oh, that would be great. Yeah. So yes, like I said about you being less allergic. Yeah, one time I took my mom into a yarn store and we walked kind of around the perimeter. Oh, hold on. Thomas, here's a reminder. My husband sets up reminders on the Amazon Echo. Anyway, so I took my mom around the perimeter of this yarn store, and she suddenly says, Heather, I need to leave. And she pulls up her sleeve and she had like hives just from being in the yarn store with all these different fibers. And I was like, okay, yes, we'll leave. But then, yeah, she was able to knit with my yarn, and it did not affect her, which I always thought was very nice, and she loved making it. Oh, hi, Megan. I know. I love that Yuso summer shawl. Oh, Sonia, you're from Florida. Very nice. Yes, lightweight. That's why I've been trying to make the multi-gauge patterns so that we can all Like, I live in San Diego. I wear a wool sweater as, like, a winter coat. Okay, Jean, I'm glad you enjoyed this. This is perfect. I'm glad you enjoyed learning a little bit about Merino. And if you have any other questions, that, you know, you think about, you can always leave it. I'll save this recording and you can leave it in the chat. Hi, Pam. Welcome from Colorado. Yes. Hi, Janet. Yeah. So superwash is a treatment that goes on the yarn. And like I said, there's different types. There used to be one, there's like an acid bath, um, but mine is actually like a silicone based coating. So it makes it really impervious to like being shrunken and everything like that. So it's a lot of fun. I have a plan to test the yarns. So I've made these swatches. Now I've lost that third one. But anyway, my plan is I've made these swatches. Here it is. And what I'm going to do is I'll block one normally, like if we were making a shawl, I'll just put it in some soak and lay it out and let it dry. So we'll have a control. And then I thought I would take one and do it in the wash on cold, like more gentle cycles and in a zip bag. And maybe I'll wash it like 5 times so that you can think like, okay, if I wash and lay flat to dry, like if you give someone a baby sweater or a blanket or, whatever it is. So we'll have a mid range. And then I thought I'd take the last swatch and I'm going to wash it full, like just with my laundry, hot dryer, just let her rip, like for, maybe 10 loads or something, so that we can really see what happens a if our finished product really gets used. And yeah, so this is kind of like my next upcoming plan. So I got to get working on that, I guess. Anyway, I think that's about all I have today. I will post the Work in Progress Wednesday in the community so that we can all share our projects, and I'll post a picture. Oh, I've dropped some stitches here. I gotta fix those. I'll post that so we can share what we're currently working on. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this live stream. I'm thinking this sort of like Wednesday morning is a good time. I haven't exactly worked out what time in the morning just yet, but we'll figure it out and get to it. So I hope you enjoyed, and do leave me a comment down below. I'll save this recording, and if you think of anything through the week, you can come back to this post and write it here, and hopefully I can answer it next week. So yeah, have a good day. I'm off to, oh, good. Hi, Janet. Yes, St. Louis. Perfect. That's a cool town. I went up the arch. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, I hope you have a great day. Take care.